How's everybody? You guys ready to stand and worship with us? If you're not, please do anyway. We love it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
We're going to sing Rest on Us. We're going to invite the Holy Spirit in this morning. As the Spirit was moving. As the Spirit was moving over the waters, Spirit, come move over us. Come rest on us. Come rest on us. And fire and wind, come and do it again. Open up the gates, let heaven on in. Come rest on us. Come rest on us. Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, come rest on us. And you're all we want. You're all we want. Holy Spirit, come rest on us. And you're all we want. You're all we want. Let's tell him. Greet your neighbor with a smile, then you guys can take your seats.
Sunday services, we gather here in the building at 8:30 and 10, and then also online at 10. We're so happy that you choose to spend your Sunday mornings with us. My name is Allie Romanis. I started coming to the Orchard a couple years ago and just instantly felt at home. One of the things I love the most about the Orchard is our mission here, love God, love people. It's such an encouraging message that we spread. And if you'd like to fuel that mission, you can do so at theorchardonline.com, or sorry. And you can also check out there all the things we have going on. Another great thing we have coming up this Thursday, March 24th, is an event called Encounter. We're going to have dinner here at the Orchard at 5:30, followed by the Experience. It's just going to be a great way to get deeper with God and get to know your fellow Orchard members. So let's keep the main thing, and get ready for some more inspiring worship and an encouraging message.
We're going to continue to worship.
Let the king of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, he is my song. And you are good, you're good. Oh, 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 let the king of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. You are good, you're good. Oh, and you are good, you're good. Oh, and you are good, you're good. Oh, and you are good, you're good. Oh.
You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down.
Here we go. You're never gonna let me down. 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 'Cause you are good, good. Oh, and you are good, good. Oh, and you are good, good. Oh, and you are good, good. Oh.
Let's sing it one more time.
And you are good, you're good. Oh, and you are good, you're good. Oh, and you are good, you're good. Oh, and you are good, you're good. Oh,
Father, you are good, You are a good, good Father. I pray that you will prepare our hearts right now for the words that you would have to speak to us. God, we love you. Amen.
Good morning. How are you guys? It's threatening to warm up out there, isn't it? It's been nice. As you can see, there's a lot of exciting things planned this morning. All right. Well, can you imagine being your entire life being remembered for your worst moment? Think of one of your worst moments. Don't think of the worst moment. We don't need to go there this morning. But maybe something in your past where it wasn't even that bad. It was just silly or embarrassing. Maybe you did get a fraternity nickname. I don't know. But can you imagine a moment of weakness that followed you around your entire life? Because today we're looking at somebody named Thomas. But when we think of Thomas, what do we call him? Doubting Thomas. His very name talks about his lowest moment. We don't know much about Thomas, except for that Thomas, well, he doubted. So why is he called Doubting Thomas? Here we've been going through the book of John for over a year now. We had the resurrection last week. And now Jesus is in his resurrected form appearing to people. And today we're going to be looking at the life of Thomas because I want to see how it is he gets this unfortunate nickname and is remembered in the most published book in the history of the earth as Doubting Thomas. It doesn't say that in there. He just gets this. And today I'm going to look at his life because I want by the end of the message for you to realize that Thomas, there's more to him to know than that he doubted. And that there's more of Thomas in us and more of us in Thomas than we would ever have imagined. Thomas's temperament is important to the story. There are two schools of thought on what Thomas might have been like. The first is that he was, just the traditional view is that he was very negative and had kind of a sour demeanor. Like Thomas is the kind of guy that the cup is always half empty and it's probably going to spill anyway, so why bother? He's thought to be highly logical to his core, and some say he's just a staunch realist. And I read all that they put about Thomas together, and it sounds like Spock in need of some antidepressants. You know, not a guy you invite to the party. The other view of Thomas, the one that I personally believe after researching and going through this, is much different than that. I believe Thomas is a man who's very passionate. He has a very deep heart. He has a very deep faith. He was very sincere in all of his interactions. There was emotion in them. It wasn't free of that emotion. No Spock-like stuff. He has a fierce dedication, and his emotions could take him to great heights at times and also to great valleys. And so with all those in mind of what Thomas could have been like, I want to look a little bit more about him. In John 11, Jesus hears about a friend named Lazarus who is deathly ill, and Jesus waits to go there. Lazarus dies, and what's important to know is about the place where Jesus is going to return to, where he wants to travel to help this situation, is a place where the disciples had already become close to being stoned. They'd almost been killed there. Jesus had almost been killed in this area. This makes the disciples nervous because they know that going back, there's a high probability of death. Like they're avoiding that area on purpose. They left it on purpose. But Jesus insists that they go back. And even though the disciples are a bit nervous because their rabbi, the one they follow, his life is at stake, we find Thomas in John 11, verses 16. Then Thomas said to the rest of the disciples, he said, "Let us go, that we may die with him." Two temperaments. Now, the traditional temperament of Thomas, if you keep this in mind, this negative, very fatalistic, realistic Thomas, oh, well, we're as good as dead. We might as well get on with it, you know? But if Thomas is who I think he is, and this takes on a whole different flavor. You see, Thomas is committed to doing everything his rabbi does. That's what a disciple is. A disciple doesn't just want to learn what the rabbi knows. A disciple wants to become like the rabbi. They want to embody their teaching, embody their courage and their bravery. So he wants to be like his rabbi in every way. He's dedicated to being like Jesus. He's followed Jesus all over the countryside through great, amazing moments, through hardships and dangerous situations. And when Jesus tells his disciples that, hey, we're going back, we're returning to the area where we could die, where we almost died, Thomas looks at the rest of the disciples and says, if that's what the rabbi wants, I'm ready to die with him. I'm ready to go and die, if that's what this is. You see, in Thomas's mind, as a disciple, where Jesus goes, I will follow. And if my rabbi goes to his death, then I got to be willing to go there too. This doesn't sound like a man who just should be remembered for his incredible doubt, which we'll get to later. The next time we see Thomas is in John 13, and we covered a lot of this throughout the past year. Jesus and his disciples, they were all together, and he begins to tell them that he's leaving. He begins to say, I'm leaving. I'll be leaving you soon. Now, this would be crushing. This would be confusing if you were a disciple. A disciple, by nature, follows a rabbi. The rabbi says, I'm not going to be here much longer. That would have been very concerning. Now, once again, to a disciple who has a great love for their rabbi, who had dedicated 3 years of traveling and following and becoming like them, this news is life-shattering. A follower without a leader, who do they follow? For a Talmudim, which was what they were called back then, a disciple, without their rabbi, what do? Jesus begins to comfort them by telling them that when he leaves, he's going to prepare a place for them. He says this, you know the way to the place where I am going. Like, you'll know the way. The disciples have no idea what he's talking about. They have none. And in John 14:5, we read, Thomas said to him, Lord, we don't know where you're going. So how can we know the way? I can almost hear a little bit of the emotion, the panic in Thomas's voice, a young disciple who's already stated that I'm willing to go to the death with my rabbi. I will follow you anywhere and do anything. Where Jesus is, Thomas wants to be. And Thomas's fear here, catch this, his fear is that Jesus is going to leave him behind and he won't know how to find him. He won't know how to find him. He even asks that. This doesn't sound like doubting Thomas. This sounds like a man of great courage, of great conviction, whose biggest concern is, if you go, I just need to know how and where to get there. Now, let's look at this 5-letter word called doubt. Because he is called Doubting Thomas. See, doubt, I believe, has become one of the dirty words in churchianity. We don't like to talk about doubt. Because oftentimes within the walls in the culture of a church, there's a sense that if somebody has doubts, well, their faith just isn't as strong as it should be. Don't talk about some of those questions and doubts. A doubt is often seen as the enemy of faith. And the last thing that anyone wants to do here in a room like this is to open your mouth and say, hey, I got some doubts about some of these things he's talking about. Hey, you guys ever thought of this? I got some questions about this stuff. It's not always appreciated in church cultures. In many cases, it's as if we'd rather just fake it and pretend like we have the faith we don't than to bring our honest doubt out into the open. And having done church for as long as I have, I know stories. I know people who have had honest doubts. And they were there in a class and someone was reading the Bible and the person asked, did God really write this? They had some questions about the content and what God was saying there. And this is the quote from the teacher in Sunday school. I think you need to leave the class and not come back on Sundays until you agree to learn along with the rest of us. This person had honest doubts, honest questions, and was told not to come back if you're going to ask them. See, doubt has been a dirty word in church. And let's be honest, there's doubts in this room. There's doubts in each and every one of us. When it comes to doubt, many churches have adopted the don't ask, don't tell policy. Like, just don't let anyone see your doubt. And personally, I hope that all doubters on every level feel welcome here at the Orchard, because I actually dabble in doubt myself. Doubt is not what we've made it out to be. So if you're feeling guilty because of some doubts you may have or questions that bubble up that you stuff down, let me alleviate some of those feelings. Doubt isn't in and of itself a sin. Doubt isn't even a bad thing. Asking deep questions about God and faith and life is not a sin. And why is that? Because doubt, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most valuable tools that God uses to mature and grow his followers into effective men and women of faith. Doubt can actually be a vehicle that grows you through immaturity in your faith. Without doubt, as I looked at this, there isn't much growth. Without doubt, our faith remains immature and underdeveloped and untested. And if you're still feeling bad about doubt, let me just tell you who the company of people you're in with. In the spiritual history, we have people who struggle with doubt. People like Abraham, the prophet Isaiah, Moses, crippling doubt in Moses, David, all the disciples. That's just a short list of the who's who of people in the Bible who dealt with doubt. And I honestly believe that if God wanted us to go through life without having doubt, he would have arranged the whole thing differently. We'd have a step-by-step instructions of every possible life scenario. God would be visible, audible, and he would direct your every single move. And life would throw you no curveballs. There would be nothing unexpected to come your way. No pandemics, no bad diagnosis, no relational failure to make you ask those doubting questions. God, where were you in this? God, where are you in this? God, why didn't you help me in this? None of that would happen. I believe that if doubt was not a part of the equation, all answers to all the dangerous questions that come up in life would be completely resolved. But guys, if that were true and there was no doubt, then there wouldn't be any need for faith. You see, God set it up this way. And so let's just go ahead and say it plainly. In life, doubt happens. It just does. It's part of what we're going to go through. Doubt is part of what it means to be human. When you live in a world where there's rumors of an afterlife, the talk of an eternal soul and a divine God and a very high probability of dying, there's going to be some deep, life-changing questions that are going to bubble up because of those possibilities and implications. Then there's the circumstances that life throws at us. Life doesn't help us in this situation. Life throws circumstances that bring up questions. When tragedy happens, questions arise, don't they? When relationships fail, questions arise. And let's be honest, these questions are out there and being asked all the time. How could a loving God do that? How could a loving God allow that? How do we know that Jesus is the only way? These can be seen as dangerous questions. And see, as you go through life, there will be, I'm not sure if everyone will be able to see this, you will come to circumstances, and I'm going to do a lot of abbreviation because my writing isn't the best, and, well, it doesn't matter. There will be questions, and there will be circumstances that happen in your life. Some of these circumstances we've talked about, that they rise up and make us ask why or where, and also just these questions as we go through, these dangerous questions to faith. And anytime there's these circumstances, anytime there's these questions in our lives, it can lead into one place. Doubt. Life circumstances, life's questions, oftentimes will lead us into doubt. And I want to redefine some terms here for us today, okay? I said earlier there's often this idea that doubt is the opposite of faith. But that's actually not true. You see, we have something called belief. Belief means to be in one mind with something. Yeah, belief over here. Belief means to be in one mind, in agreement with something. And the opposite of belief is actually unbelief. So that sound is, are you guys getting a good one of that? There you go. Again, 8:30, you guys get stuff that 10 doesn't get. Doubt is neither belief or unbelief. Doubt is the state of mind of being suspended between the two. Doubt isn't unbelief, doubt isn't belief. You see, doubt is actually a crossroads. These questions that come up, these circumstances in life that happen, they come to the surface. They lead us into, well, God, where are you in that? Or how could God let that happen? Or is that really true? And then doubt is a crossroads into belief and unbelief. Unbelief, somewhere within us makes this statement, I'm not going to believe that. We go into the doubt and we think, I'm not going to believe that. We write off God, we write off Jesus, and when it comes to that, when you go into doubt based on the questions and circumstances, and you lean into unbelief, when it comes to Jesus and when it comes to God, the result of that is a faithlessness. Goodness. I'm just going to put faithless in such good writing that you can't tell what I put. So over here on this side, the questions and circumstances lead us into doubt. We lean into unbelief, and that leads to a faithlessness in God. I will not believe. Now we have this other side of belief. We have these questions, we have these circumstances that lead us into doubt. And as we get into doubt, we begin to wrestle in it. We begin to pursue God in our doubt. We begin to lean into Jesus, reading his truth, leaning into him, pursuing him in our doubt, which leads to belief. And the result of this right here, it leads to more faith, stronger faith, and greater maturity. So as you leave the questions, it is a crossroads of two different ways. And depending on what you lean into in those moments, there will be a drastically different outcome. Now, there's also one other path on here. It's a detour. Because there are those who believe in Jesus, and when it comes to the dangerous questions, when it comes to those questions of life that are kind of dangerous to faith, like, God, where were you in that? God, how could you allow that? Or even smaller than that, whatever any question, any circumstance that could lead toward doubt, there's a group of people who are terrified of doubt and the fear that it brings. I think that doubt is a bad thing, and I will not doubt. And so what they do is they come here, they have the circumstances, they have the questions, they see themselves approaching doubt and say, nope, and they detour over here. They are not going to allow themselves to enter into doubt, to wrestle through doubt, to ask the hard questions, to ask God where he is. And they come over here, and this is what I like to call cliche Christianity. Cliche Christianity because it is a shallow faith. And that's the result of this. The result of this is a shallow, immature faith. In fact, it's a blind faith. But it's not blind because it doesn't see. It's blind because it doesn't look. It doesn't even inspect the doubt. And it speaks in cliches and goes through life with a faith that says, I will not ask these questions because these questions lead me into the fear of doubt. This detour right here is when they speak in cliches, the world has gotten used to us in this. There's a lot, the world has seen the church speak in a cliche Christianity when the reality is real faith arms real Jesus followers with real authentic talk. Like when you have gone and wrestled through doubt and leaned into belief and pursued God and come out on this side through your struggles, through the circumstances, through the questions, you can speak honestly about your struggle. You don't have to have a cliche about peace. Because you found peace in the darkest valley. Not because it was cliche, but because Jesus Christ, he defended your heart and mind as you leaned into belief. You earned it the hard way through pursuing him. Fighting through the doubt, fighting with the doubt, into belief, into faith. Authentic followers of Jesus can have authentic conversations about their struggles. Not afraid, not needing cliches. So remember that when you're in doubt, you have some decisions to make. First and foremost, will I detour or will I actually let myself go into it? The doubt isn't bad. It's what you do in the doubt. And it's what you do with the doubt that makes all the difference in your walk. So from here, let's look at Doubting Thomas and how he gets his name. We're going to pick up the story right where we left off with John. After Jesus he was resurrected, he'd already shown himself to Mary. It's early in the morning, and we're going to go to Mark 16 because it has a little tidbit I want us to check in on. Mark 16, verse 9 through 11. Jesus arose early the first day of the week. He appeared first to Mary. She went and she told all the disciples, all those who had been with him, who were mourning and weeping. They're crying that morning. She goes and tells them, verse 11, when they heard that Jesus was alive and that she had seen him, they did not believe. How many of the disciples? Just Thomas? Everyone. And there's an equation here. You see, what happened here is they hear. And then it leads to doubt. They hear and they don't believe it. In their doubt, they lean in unbelief and they thought she was crazy. Maybe she's lost it. She's seeing things. She just wants it to be true so bad. Turning to John 20, where we are where we've been going, those same disciples, those same exact disciples who hear that he's alive and choose in doubt to disbelieve, here they are in John 20, verse 19. On the evening of the first day of the week, when the disciples were together, the doors were locked of fear of the Jews. That means the authorities, the priests, the high priests. Now stop here for 1 minute. I wonder what this meeting was like. No one has seen Jesus alive except for Mary. As bad as everything has gone for these disciples, they're meeting together. What kind of support group is this? Hi, I'm Peter, and I believed in Jesus. This is a heartbroken meeting with grief, disbelief, and of a group of people who had dedicated their lives to something and are now trying to figure out, what do we do now? What do we do next? And then in the middle of this meeting, Jesus came and stood among them and said, peace be with you. That's what you say when you just appear in a room full of people. Peace be with you. After he said this, he showed them his hands, his sides. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. And guess what? They believed. You see, they hear and they doubt. But then they see and they believe. They heard, they doubted. But they see and they believe. That's the exact equation that we see them tracking through. And honestly, we're going to look at this later. Once you've gone through this and once you get to believe, the next step is go tell. Always. When you hear, doubt, see, believe, it's always tell. But now we move into something interesting. We skip to verse 24 and we read this sentence. Now Thomas, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. When Jesus arrived and showed up, Thomas wasn't there. Thomas was absent. And the question has always been, where's Thomas? Why wasn't he there with them? While the other disciples, they might have wanted to mourn together. Perhaps they want to comfort each other. Thomas, for whatever reason, is preferring to not be there. Maybe he likes to grieve alone. Maybe something came up. Maybe he's just so brokenhearted and so confused, he's just still somewhere else. Thomas, most likely at this moment, is trying to think back and make some sense of the past 3 years and in light of the last 3 days. He'd watched the one he loved, broken, beaten, executed, mocked. Thomas had seen it all. And perhaps he sat alone, unable to reconcile his beliefs with the doubts that he was facing. He saw Jesus crucified. He saw him killed. He's sitting in doubt. How in the world can I get over here because I witnessed it? And perhaps he wanted to be alone. We've all had these moments where what we believe collides with life circumstances. We've all had these moments where what we believe deeply collides with life circumstances. How do I believe this about God when this happened in my life? That is the crossroads of doubt. For Thomas, being with the other 10 disciples, that's not what he wanted to do for whatever reason. Maybe the last thing he wanted, maybe the last thing Thomas wanted was to be grieving Jesus in a meeting about Jesus without Jesus. Maybe he just didn't want any part of that. Back to 25. So the disciples told him, and you can imagine they're excited, we've seen him. He's alive. Huge smiles. Life's good. Hear, doubt, see, believe. It's true, Thomas. But Thomas said, I'm still here. Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I will not believe. He makes the statement, I will not believe. I have been living in doubt these last days, and he's leading into unbelief. When I see Thomas as the passionate disciple, not the Spock, but the passionate disciple in deep mourning, what he says here takes on a different flavor than those negative traits of a realist. It just sounds like a man who's broken-hearted, just trying to adjust to the circumstances that were thrown his way and decide what is life going to be like on the other side. But again, we see the same pattern in Thomas that we saw in the others. The other disciples, they hear that Jesus is alive, and they doubt it. Thomas hears about it and doubts it. They're all on the same footing. He's not the doubting Thomas we all think. He's doing exactly what they're doing. On to verse 26. A week later, the disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Now, this is a huge statement. It doesn't look like it. Like, okay, someone's telling us who's there. This is a huge statement for anyone who's struggling with doubt. Anyone who has circumstances and questions and struggling with doubt, this statement about Thomas is absolutely huge. A week later, Thomas has seen nothing. He's still here. He's seen nothing to confirm anything. He's still mourning. He's still in confusion. But Thomas does something here that changes everything. He shows up. He shows up. With his doubt, in his doubt, he shows up. Sometime that week, his heart was moved. Sometime that week, based on what they were saying, they were telling, his heart was moved from, I will not believe to, I want to believe. I'm going to lean into belief. I want to believe. You don't show up to that meeting if there's no, you're not going to lean into it. So he showed up. In his doubt, Thomas did the greatest thing. He showed up. For many of you struggling with doubts, the best thing that you could do in them is to show up. Show up to the places where you pursue faith. Because when you show up, even in your doubt and with your doubt, you're in essence saying, I want to believe. I'm leaning into belief. Listen, doubt is the proving ground for faith. And if you don't show up, you cannot fight. So Thomas showed up. I don't know what this means for you. It could be that today, this very day, you sitting here is you showing up with your doubt, in your doubt. Maybe tomorrow morning, you need to show up privately and meet with God for the first time in a long time and lean into belief and pursue into belief. Maybe in a growth group, or maybe it's finally attending that Bible study, or maybe it's showing up and finally getting honest with someone about your doubt. I'm going to show up. Thomas shows up and prays in hopes that Jesus will meet him there, and he did. And perhaps that's your prayer. Jesus, I'm going to keep showing up. Meet me there. Showing up is the first step of leaning into, I want to believe. Verse 26, there he is. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, peace be with you. Once again, showing up out of nowhere. And now imagine this moment if you're Thomas. Jesus appears and locks eyes with you. Everyone else has had this experience. They've all seen him. They've all believed. You are alone in your doubt. Could you imagine all the feelings that Thomas must have experienced? Jesus shows up. Like, is Jesus going to rebuke me? I'm the only one here who doesn't believe. Is Jesus going to be angry? Is Jesus going to be like, oh, doubting Thomas, I see. That's how you shall be known. Like, is he going to be disappointed in him? Then Jesus said to Thomas, goes right into it, put your finger here in my hand. Put your hand on my side. Stop doubting and believe. Jesus isn't angry. The compassion of Jesus is amazing in this moment. He doesn't shame Thomas for not believing. He doesn't point out that, hey, the others believed before you. They were first. He doesn't call Thomas a weak follower. He doesn't nickname him Doubting Thomas. He gives Thomas exactly what Thomas's heart needed. And catch this, he meets Thomas exactly where Thomas needed to be met. And Jesus wants to do that for you as well. He met Thomas in exactly the place of his doubt. Thomas showed up and leaned in. I want to believe. I'm going to lean in and pursue Jesus. And Jesus met him. And Thomas said, unless I feel it, I'm not going to believe. And Jesus goes, hey, I feel this. What happens next is one of the most profound declarations of faith by any disciple. In verse 28, Thomas, when he sees and understands this is the Lord, he says, my Lord and my God. And this has been called by many scholars the greatest creed in the New Testament, said by Doubting Thomas. This is not a small statement. This is Thomas's faith being resurrected. And from the depths of his heart, he says, my Lord and my God. Never before in the Bible have those two titles been put together, both Messiah and God. Jesus even asked them at one point, and they never put those together. Thomas is the first one to declare Jesus' true nature in this creed, the full nature of Jesus. And Jesus goes on talking to Thomas, but I have to believe that there were 10 other men in the room who were struck by what Jesus says next. Jesus then told him, because you have seen me, you have believed. Now, this is normal. Because you have seen me, you believed. Seeing is believing, he says. But the next line Jesus talks about isn't for anyone in that room with him. He's about to say something that is not for Thomas, it's not for Peter, it's for none of them. It is for you. Jesus says, but blessed are those who believe without seeing me. This is Jesus talking about you here. We have not seen. We have not had the privilege to have him appear in our home. Here's what our equation looks like. At some point we hear, at some point you heard about Jesus. And whatever it looked like for you, whether you were younger or older or even in this process now, there was doubt. You had questions, something. And then right here, Jesus didn't show up and say, feel my hand, feel my side. Jesus said, blessed are those who hear, and though they do not see, they believe. At some point when you hear, and whatever doubts there are, your faith begins to grow as you lean into belief. You believe because your heart has wrestled through the doubt, through the questions, not because you've seen Jesus face to face. Jesus says we are blessed when we pursue him through our doubts and find faith. You are blessed. Jesus says he calls you blessed because you have pursued him through your doubts into faith. Jesus declares us blessed when we wrestle through doubt, when we lean into belief. Each of us can find ourselves up here somewhere. Each of us. It's the reality. We're all on here somewhere. Some of us have what we would say, and this is so hard to diagnose in ourselves, a shallow faith, because we have refused to enter our doubts. We have lived in cliche Christianity. When the real big questions and circumstances happen, I don't know, let go and let God. I don't know. I'm not going to go in there. I'm not going to wrestle through that. An unbelieving world is tired of our cliches. It's time to open up and speak about a different kind of faith, but only a faith that comes through real life and real struggle, through real doubt, that leans into belief and lands on a deep faith, forged in the fire of big questions, hard circumstances, and in the furnace and the forge of doubt. And so for some of us who might be over here, I just want to give you permission. God is big enough to take any question you have. God's not scared of your question about the people in the Amazon who've never heard about him. He knows the answer. God's not scared of our questions. He's not scared of you going through a circumstance and saying, how could you let this happen? I have yelled in anger and brokenheartedness at God. Where were you? I've had my faith shaken and shattered, and I have been on the floor in doubt, wondering where was God in this circumstance. And through that, he has forged a faith in me in this fire that if I had just cliched out, would be so shallow and so blind because it refused to inspect. Those of us, any of us who are over here in the unbelief side, who are wrestling with this, my prayer today is that you would maybe move past whatever or whomever was the cause that had you move into unbelief, the final statement of unbelief. And a lot of people I talk to over here on this side, it's because they've been wounded by the church or wounded by well-meaning Christians. And they go, those hypocrites, they only wants my money, this, that, and the other, and how can God do? And so there's a lot of that over here. And I just tell them, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that happened. That is not God. That is imperfect people representing a perfect God. That is not who he is. And so the question for anybody over here is to know this. Will you open yourself up to doubt? That maybe you don't have it all figured out. If you're on the side of unbelief, if that's where you've landed, will you open up to the possibility of doubt that maybe there's more to Jesus than the people who represented him to you? Open yourself up to the doubt that maybe there's more to God. And Jesus wants to meet you in those places where you said those statements and left. To close, I want to say this last part in Mark 9. In Mark 9, there's somebody who comes to Jesus. He said, Dad, he wants his son healed. His son is just being tormented. And he comes to Jesus and he says, if you can, please heal our son. Have mercy on us. And Jesus looks at him and says, if I can, anything is possible. If a person believes, anything is possible if a person believes. And the father instantly cried out, I do believe, but help me overcome my belief, my unbelief. I do believe, but help me overcome my unbelief. And Jesus heals his son. What an authentic cry of the heart. Jesus did not deny him. No matter where you are on your spiritual journey, no matter where you are in your life, whether you're a church veteran or rookie or just checking this whole thing out, this man's declaration is one that is for all of us. God, help me in my unbelief. Jesus, help me in my unbelief. Where I need hope, God, help me in my unbelief about my future. Where I need peace, God, help me in my unbelief about my present. Where I need freedom, God, help me in my unbelief about you setting the captive free. God, where I need anything, help me in my unbelief. In closing, we just have to know that doubting Thomas was just like every other disciple up here. But we are blessed because of our faith. And Orchard, today, it is this. God wants you to wrestle through this and lean into him for a deeper, more passionate, more robust, real faith. As we end today and we go into communion, bring your doubts to God. Bring those questions and those hurts and those circumstances to him. And as you take communion, perhaps it's this: help me in my unbelief. Authentically cry out like that, Father. And see, Jesus wants to meet you in that place.
Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine, an heir of salvation, purchase of God, born of His Spirit, washed in His blood. Perfect submission, and all is at rest. I in my Savior am happy and blessed, watching and waiting, looking above, filled with His goodness, lost in His love. Will you stand? This is my story, and this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. And this is my story, and this is my song, praising my
thank you that we have a story because of you. Amen.
And I saw Satan fall like lightning, and I saw darkness run for cover. But the miracle that I just can't get over, my name is registered in heaven. I believe in signs and wonders. I have resurrection power. Still the miracle that I just can't get over, my name is registered in heaven. My praise belongs to you forever. This is my testimony from death to life, 'cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify by Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Come together, sons and daughters, bought with blood, washed in water. Sing the praises of the Spirit, Son and Father. Our God will finish what He started. Our God will finish what He started. This is my testimony from death to life, 'cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify by Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, if I'm not dead, then you're not done. And greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe if I'm not dead, then you're not done. The greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe if I'm not dead, then you're not done. Oh, the greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe if I'm not dead, then you're not done. The greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. This is my testimony from death to life, 'cause grace rewrote my story. I testify by Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love that song. If I'm not dead, then you're not done. That's for you today. Some of you need to leave out here with knowing there's fresh hope, fresh peace. There's life change ahead. Your greatest days are ahead. Jesus, in your powerful and mighty name, I pray over these people. I pray, Lord, that you would meet us in our doubts as our faith is forged in those fires. I pray you would grow us, mature us. And Lord Jesus, I pray that the Orchard would be a group, a church who goes out into this world and loves God and loves people in an amazing way. Father, you are not done working in our stories. And so we will seek you in a new way. Orchard, this week, where do you need to show up like Thomas did and meet God? That's your assignment. I'll see you next week. Love you guys.